Fellow Africans, you're here, fellow Africans. Let me ask one question. How many airline CEOs are here? By show of hands? 1, 2, 3, 4. Are there any other airline CEOs that I can't see? I see 4. Maybe some are in their rooms, I'm not too sure. Can somebody from AFRAA please confirm to me how many airline CEOs registered for this event? Daniel? Maureen? How many registered to be here? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but it's important. Okay, let's start with this. How many member airlines does AFRAA have? 48. Colleagues, and you know I don't pull punches. Is this how we show the world that we are serious about African aviation? Out of 48 members, we have 4, at the most 5 airline CEOs in this room. This is the annual gathering of the African Airlines Association. So is it any wonder that other people, other continents don't take us seriously? How can we be proud as Africans to say we have an African Airline Association and we don't attend only one meeting in a year? Ponder that. And this is a message that comes from the bottom of my heart. If some of you are going to relay this message back to your CEOs, tell them to confront me. If I have to lose my job, I'll lose it today. But I'll tell you to your faces that you are our demise. Nobody else is our enemy. We can talk about all the other things that pull us back. We have heard about the enemy without, the enemy that is outside us. As Africans, we've heard about that. And today, colleagues, this gathering is not a formality. We are not here for a nice time. We are here because we must confront issues that are pertinent and very important to the African continent, to the African people. This is the crucible where African connectivity is forged. We, in this room, are supposed to come up with concrete initiatives that enable us to create African connectivity. And yet, this is how we demonstrate how serious we are. You know, for the past 2 days, I've been hearing colleagues telling me horrible stories of how they got to Luanda. Some have flown for 21 hours. Not by choice, but because there's just no connectivity. Why is there no connectivity? It's because of this dismal attitude that we have. Colleagues, yes, we can talk about the current situation that we're facing, not only as Africa, but as a planet. There's a global fluidity, geopolitics. But these things don't affect only us. They affect everybody else. So we can't be hopping along and saying we are not doing well because of geopolitics. How many of you here have dodged bombs and bullets because there's geopolitics? None of us, except Camille. But the reality is we are very good at coming up with excuses. And this must stop, colleagues. And when we become brutally honest with each other, I can hear quite a number of you right now thinking, my gosh, did he wake up on the wrong side of the bed or not? No, I did not. This is intentional. I've been thinking about this for the past 3-4 months since AFRAA invited me to do this welcome speech, and I said I'm going to say it as it is. It pains me as an African. I've been in this industry for 41 years. Every single year, we are still confronted with the dismal performance of 2.2% contribution to global passengers. 2.2%. And yet, we are a continent of 1.4 billion people. We contribute 20% of the world's population. Surely, the minimum that we can do, the minimum, is maybe contribute also 20%, because quid pro quo. But we are looking at other people and saying they are the problem. They are not. We are the problem. We don't believe in ourselves. But maybe, let's look at it from a different perspective. And I would like to share with you an African saying that says, where there is ruin, there is hope for treasure. We have a number of ruins on the continent. The Zimbabwe ruins, not the country itself. Even the pyramids in Egypt are ruins. What it means is that when you dig deep down under that rubble, you actually can end up with treasure. So maybe, let's think about the treasure that is behind that ruin. First and foremost, like I said, we have the population dividend. And by the way, even 1.4 billion people, up to 65% of that population is under the age of 35. Nobody else in the world has got such a young population. I sometimes wonder, we have such a young population, 65% under the age of 35. But the leaders on this continent are octo-septuagenarians. I don't know, maybe I'm going to be deported, but it is what it is. Are we running out of ideas in terms of leadership? Let's talk about regulatory fragmentation. I know of an airline that had done 3 launch functions and none of them materialized because they were waiting for a foreign operating permit. They are wanting, they have put a schedule in place, they have put money on the table, they want to fly to this country. 3 months down the road, the FOP is not issued. No, don't worry. It's not as if they applied only within 3 months. They applied 9 months in advance. Regulatory fragmentation is something that we ourselves are priding ourselves in. That no, in our country you can't do this. Yesterday I heard that in one country, for you to get an FOP valid for 6 months, not 12 months, 6 months. Who is going to put a schedule in any system for an airline to operate for 6 months? Where do these regulations come from? These are regulations that come from pre-colonial time. And we have never ever had the tenacity to look at these regulations and review them, revise them, and come up with modern day regulations. Let's talk about structural inefficiency. I hate to talk about these things because they actually just bring our spirits down. But nobody else is going to mention it unless we do it ourselves. Because what they do, when they leave this continent, they shake their heads and they say, Africa. That's all they say, Africa. Yeah, we pride ourselves and say, Africa is not for sissies. But no, Africa is not going anywhere. if these Africans themselves don't pull up their socks and fix this thing. So, where there is ruin, there's hope for a treasure. The population dividend is one of the treasures that we have. What are we going to do about it? I'm pleased to confirm that yes, Anil and I spoke and agreed. Next year, Camille, next year we're going to meet 4 times as associations. And we are going to have concrete plans that we're going to share with you, and we want you to measure us on our ability to deliver on what we have said we're going to deliver every quarter. I spoke about regulatory fragmentation. I also want to mention policy paralysis. And this is a bad bug for me. So every time I hear, especially my fellow colleagues in the industry, saying that SATAM is dead, it confirms to me that whoever says that has not read and fully understood what SATAM is. Because when you read and understand what SATAM is, you realize that SATAM is an instrument that was meant for the implementation of the Yamoussoukro decision. Now, there are 38 countries that have signed up for SATAM. I wonder what's happening with the others that have not signed up. Funke and I have been working very hard with our colleagues at the AU to try and at least motivate the others to see the light in terms of signing. But let's park those that have not signed for now. The ones that have signed, are they implementing what they are supposed to be implementing? Do they know what they signed up for? Most of them actually do. When you engage them, they do. So earlier on, I made you feel uncomfortable. I asked how many airline CEOs are. But I make you even more uncomfortable. How many government officials are in this room? Well, at least the airlines, there were 4 of them. Government officials? Who represents governments here? Don't worry, I will not shout at you. Just by show of hands. Look around, colleagues, look around. So, the airlines on their own cannot do this because they need the assistance of the regulatory framework to assist them to achieve the interconnectivity for Africa. But if the government officials don't even see it fit to be at an African Airlines Association annual general meeting, what does that say about the so-called support that they give us? I'll share an anecdote with you. We were in Montreal for the ICAO summit. I went to 5 African events. At one event, I saw 143 delegates from one country. S&T is fantastic in Montreal. We were in Delhi for the IATA AGM. I saw at least 16 African airline CEOs in Delhi. I don't know whether it's S&T or just Kuchinegarega, But policy analysis, paralysis, comes from the fact that the policies are there. They are actually even well meant, but we don't implement them. This must change. And then let's talk about structural inefficiency. The structures that these airlines are given as part of infrastructure is inadequate. Am I running out of time, Maureen? When I see you going there, I get worried. So when we get infrastructure that doesn't support us, how then are we going to be able to achieve the simple things of intraconnectivity for Africa when the airports are not even available 24/7? How are these airlines going to even meet the minimum requirement that they have for their aircraft utilization when they can't access the skies because instrument flight procedures are inadequate, instrument landing systems, seeds and stars are not in place. Simple things that need to be maintained regularly are just not maintained. But maybe you can't expect me to live and just leave you in a dump with this feeling of inadequacy. But maybe take this with you. What I've just explained and gone through with you in the past couple of minutes leads us in one direction, and that direction is for us to face hope and courage. Because when you hope, you give yourself the opportunity to live another day. When you hope, you actually create another world. You create a future for yourself. You create the momentum that you require. You create the impetus that you need to think differently because you are hoping. But hope on its own is inadequate. It has to be anchored on courage. Do you have the courage to implement the things that you are wishing for? Do you have the courage to even confront the realities that are in front of you? Do you have the courage to face the future confidently that you are going to do the best that you can to achieve the hope that you have? Courage is the undertone that you require for you to be able to say, tomorrow is another day. And as I always tell you guys, to be is to do. And to do is to do now. Tomorrow might never come. I thank you.
We are grateful for your insights, Mr. Aaron, dear Aaron, always energetic and very passionate. So before we continue with our formal business, I wish to make some announcements. Firstly, a total of 516 delegates from 49 countries from across the globe have registered. These include 68 delegates from 23 AFRAA member airlines, out of which 6 are represented as chief executive level, as well as observers from 2 African non-AFRAA member airlines. Thus, we continue our journey and our celebration, and we have further announcements to make. Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to announce that the following airlines have joined AFRAA in 2025. ALS Limited has associated membership, and Global Airways Lift Airlines has associated membership. A round of applause, please. Now, one of the time, I want to call the ALS company representative to come forward to receive their certificate, who will be delivered by Secretary General of AFRAA, Mr. Abdurrahman Berti, who I also ask to kindly join the stage. A round of applause, please. Pedimos então ao staff que nos traga o certificado da empresa ALS, que deve ser entregue ao secretário-geral da AFRAA. So the Secretary General will now deliver the ALS certificate, associate membership, which just joined AFRAA. The picture. Very well. Round of applause, please. I kindly request the Secretary General to remain at the stage as we shall proceed. Now I call Global Airways Lift Airlines Company representative to come forward to receive their certificate. Again, I call Global Airways Lift Airlines Company representative to come forward to receive the certificate. Is it in the room? Very well, we will proceed. Thus, we are also pleased to announce that the following companies has enrolled in the AFRAA Partnership Program during this year. The companies are as follows: Mauriva Associated Partnership, Sirion Full Partnership, Seabury Aviation Partners Associate Partnership, Kerojet Services Associate Partnership, Matrix Energy Associate Partnership, Airline Pros Associate Partnership, and last but not least, Lake Oil Limited Associate Partnership. A round of applause for these companies, please. Again, one at a time, I call Mauriva Company representative to come forward to receive the certificate. In the room? Yes. Peço então ao protocolo para entregar o certificado da companhia Mauriva ao Sr. Ablemana Berte, para fazer aqui a entrega formal e a fotografia. Muito bem, thank you. We have next Syrian company representative to come forward to receive the certificate. Syrian company representative to come forward, come to the stage as well. Peço ao protocolo para fazer então a entrega do certificado da empresa Syrian ao secretário-geral da AFRAA, Ablemana Berte, para a entrega formal ao novo parceiro da AFRAA para o ano de 2025. Muito bem. Thank you. We shall proceed. I call now the Seabury Aviation Partners Company representative to come forward and receive the certificate. In the room? Again, Seabury Aviation Partner Company representative to come forward to receive the certificate. Okay, we shall continue. I call now Kerojet Services Company representative to come forward to receive the certificate. Kerojet Services in the room? Ok. Peço então ao protocolo para preparar o certificado da Kerojet Services para ser então entregue ao Sr. Ablemana Berte e fazer chegar aqui ao novo parceiro. So Kerojet Services enrolled in the partnership program in 2025 of AFRAA, receiving the certificate, and now the formal picture. Thank you. We now continue, and I call Matrix Energy Company representative to come forward to receive the certificate. Again, Matrix Energy Company representative. In the room? Silence, meaning that we shall proceed. I call now Airline Pros Company representative to come forward and receive the certificate. Airline Pros Company, we have here. Okay, great. Peço então o protocolo para preparar o certificado da Airline Pros e ser então entregue ao Sr. Ablemana Berte em jeito de agradecimento e momento simbólico da entrada deste parceiro para o programa da AFRAA. So, Airline Pros Company enrolled in AFRAA Partnership Program for this year. Very well. At least, but not last, I would like to call Lake Oil Limited Company representative to come forward to the stage to receive the certificate. Again, Lake Oil Limited. Ok, coming. Muito bem. Peço então ao protocolo para preparar o certificado da Lake Oil Limited para ser entregue então ao Sr. Abreman Aberte e completarmos esse momento simbólico. Picture, the handshake, the smile in the picture, in the certificate, and another partner in the program of AFRAA for 2025. Overall, I welcome and I thank you, the new members airlines that have joined the partnership program of AFRAA. And to proceed, I hand over to the Secretary General, who will have his next moment, the presentation of the annual report of the Secretary General and priorities for 2026. A round of applause, please, for Mr. Adramana Berte. Peço ajuda aqui aos colegas da área técnica para prepararmos a apresentação novamente e para termos o slide em transição. Try again. Yes? Okay. 1 minute. Let's just wait 1 minute to complete the setup. Okay, we have it.
It's okay?
Yes, it's okay now, right?
Right?
It's changing.
Okay.
Left, go back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, before I start my report, I've been informed about passing away of Miss Angelina Simana, which we all knew. She has been Director of Transport of AFCAC and also Interim Secretary General of AFCAC. So I would like us to observe 1 minute of silence in homage to Miss Angelina. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Honorable ministers and the government representatives, CEOs and leaders of African Airlines, industry executives and partners, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning again. I am pleased to present the 2024 annual report of AFRAA, the 2025 trends, and AFRAA's priorities for 2026. This year marks a historic milestone for us. 55 years since the establishment of AFRAA. For over 50 years, AFRAA has been a foundation of cooperation, unity, and technical excellence in African aviation. What started as a gathering of visionary airlines has developed into a continental institution representing 48 member airlines, 41 industry partners, and a community of stakeholders committed to enhancing African aviation. Based in Nairobi, AFRAA remains crucial in supporting airlines, building partnerships, advocating for favorable policies, and raising Africa's voice in global aviation. As we look ahead, AFRAA is guided by a renewed strategic framework focused on safety, security, and operational excellence, economic sustainability and airline competitiveness, innovation, digital transformation and human capital development, environmental sustainability, and the journey towards net zero carbon emissions. These pillars form the foundation of our effort and guide the work we are privileged to undertake in the next 5 years under the AFRAA second strategic plan. Let me highlight key projects that are delivering tangible results. Distinguished delegate, one of the most significant continental initiatives AFRAA has spearheaded over the past 2 years is the Free Route Airspace project. Through extensive collaboration with airlines and air navigation service providers, the West and Central African region has now been free route airspace since 30th October 2025. This achievement reflects Africa's determination to embrace efficiency, reduce costs, and enhance environmental sustainability. The gains are significant. 1,393 hours saved annually, 5,000 tons of fuel saved, 16,000 tons of CO2 emissions avoided, and $15 million in annual cost saving for the participating airlines. Work is underway to extend these benefits to the East and Southern African region by end of 2026, moving us toward a continental-wide free route airspace environment. AFRAA continues to prioritize safety at the top of its objectives. The second African Aviation Safety and Operations Summit, held in Kigali in May 2025, brought together experts from around the world under the theme Strengthening Safety Culture for Resilient Aviation in Africa. The next summit will be held in Johannesburg in 20th May 2026. It will emphasize the importance of robust safety systems and operational best practices, crucial element for a modern, competitive aviation industry. Fuel remains the single most significant cost burden for African airlines. Through the AFRAA Fuel project, 14 airlines procured 2.1 billion liters of fuel across 190 locations, securing greater transparency and more equitable pricing. This collaborative approach is a model of how African Airlines can leverage collective strength to reduce costs and improve efficiency. From now on, please remember this logo. AFRAA is proud to coordinate preparations for the first AFRAA's African MRO event to be held from 29 to 31st March 2026 in Addis Ababa, hosted by Ethiopian Airlines. This event, led by the MRO units of 4 major African airlines, Ethiopian Airlines, Kenya Airways, Egyptair, and South African Airways are joining their efforts. This initiative seeks to strengthen Africa's maintenance capability, reduce reliance on overseas MROs, and enhance regional expertise. It will not be only an academic event with presentations and panel discussions. It will be also a marketplace between our African airlines and our suppliers. The 13th Aviation Stakeholders Convention held in Kigali attracted more than 400 high-level delegates, reaffirming its importance as a platform for aviation business engagement across the continent. The 14th edition will be hosted in South Africa in May 2026 in Johannesburg, hosted by South African Airways, further strengthening collaboration among airlines, suppliers, OEMs, and service providers. Ladies and gentlemen, the global economy continues a modest recovery. However, in Africa, we face higher inflationary pressures than the global average, impacting travel demand, access to capital, and operating cost structures. African currencies continue to be vulnerable to global fluctuations, directly impacting fuel costs that are already significantly above the global average. Volatility in oil prices and currency devaluation continues to undermine airlines' revenues. We must continue joint cost saving and push for the easing of currency repatriation measures. AFRAA urges African finance authorities and central banks to safeguard aviation liquidity. Aviation remains a vital driver of a national economy. In 2024, Africa accounted for only 2.1% of global traffic, despite representing 80% of the world population. This mismatch shows the tremendous upside for traffic growth, connectivity, and market opening. Protectionism, not demand, is limiting African air transport. Let us speed up SATAM implementation and open up market access to boost growth. Tourism rebounded strongly in 2024. Global 1.47 billion tourists. Africa 73.9 million tourists. representing a market share of only 5%, remaining low compared to Africa's unique natural and cultural assets. Africa must simplify border access and expand air connectivity to tourism destinations. Government should invest in tourism infrastructure, enable e-visas and open skies policies. Tourism growth must be aviation-led. Passengers in Africa pay on average $68 in taxes for international departures, more than double the amount in Europe and the Middle East, Europe being $30, Middle East $34. This represents a severe penalty on African travelers and affects demand. High taxes treat aviation as a luxury, yet aviation is an essential development infrastructure. AFRAA calls for transparent, competitive, and economically sustainable aviation taxes and charges to boost traffic. Lower taxes coupled with competition increase revenue by boosting sales. African carriers operate a relatively small and aging fleet compared to global carriers. This affects reliability, emissions, operational efficiency, and cost competitiveness. Boeing estimates the fleet expansion will reach 135% for Africa between 2024 and 2044. We need innovative financing, OEM collaboration, and African leasing platforms to support this fleet expansion. The all accident rate improved below the 5-year average, but recent fatal incidents remind us we must intensify safety actions. Fatality risk remains low, but every accident is a concern and should be avoided. We should invest in safety systems, training, and data-driven operations to secure Africa's reputation and growth. These are the objectives of the AFRAA Safety and Operations Summit. African airlines are progressively recovering capacity, but the continent continues to rely heavily on non-African carriers for long-haul connectivity, and intra-African connectivity remains low. African airlines must retain intra-Africa traffic through alliances, code shares, cooperative competition, and consolidation. And we have a champion about consolidation, our chairman, Mr. Alan Kilavoka. African airlines must expand their intra-African networks and harmonize schedules using AFRAA-supported coordination and cooperation tools. Global airline profits in 2025 are forecast at $36 billion. African airlines are projected to deliver $0.2 billion, a positive step, but marginal in the global context. We must engage structural transformation, lower cost, improved productivity, and effective business models. In Africa, fuel accounts for 30 to 40% operating cost, compared to less than 26% globally. This gap undermines profitability and competitiveness. Reducing jet fuel cost is a strategic priority for African aviation economics. Africa still accounts for 73.6% of the global total of blocked airline funds at $1 billion US. This limits airlines' ability to invest, pay suppliers, and finance operations. AFRAA calls on states to release funds to support economic stability, jobs, and connectivity. The continent faces supply chain challenges, fuel prices, spare parts, and aircraft delivery. We must enhance the reliability and the resilience of aviation supply systems in Africa. We must strengthen local MRO capabilities, OEM partnership, and logistic infrastructure. This is the reason we are launching the African MRO event from 2026. SATAM. 38 African states have formally joined SATAM, representing 69% of AU members and 78% of Africa's population. The political momentum is clear, but implementation gaps remain. Airlines cannot expand connectivity if the market remains restricted. We must ensure that SATAM commitments are converted into actual bilateral traffic rights and regulatory alignments. Visa liberalization remains uneven. African travelers still face barriers within the continent. The progress is very low. In 2024, 47% of intra-African travel by African citizens required a visa before departure. Tourism, business travel, and trade cannot thrive without border mobility. Government must enable free movement, e-visas, visas on arrival. Sustainability is no longer optional. AFRAA issued a fact sheet and call to action on net zero by 2050, detailing concrete actions African airlines must take to remain aligned with global aviation frameworks, including ICAO's LTAG, CORSIA, and IATA commitments. AFRAA is supporting airlines to turn global commitments into operational reality, not in theory, but through measurable actions. The Free Route Initiative is a contribution to decarbonizing the African airspace. AFRAA has identified 5 strategic pathways: sustainable aviation fuels, facilitating joint procurement and capacity building in Africa; carbon offsetting, enabling an African carbon market platform, technology promoting fleet modernization and digital efficiency tools, operating an infrastructure, advancing optimized flight profiles, human capital, developing training programs for next generation professionals. AFRAA will follow up on airlines' progress and address bottlenecks to ensure that no African airline is left behind. We call on airlines to report their sustainability data, on government to enable SAF production, and on partners to finance green transformation in Africa. Let us talk about 2025 and beyond. Africa has the youngest population in the world. 60% of Africans are under 25, a generation of mobile connected travelers, yet aviation represents only 2.2% of global traffic, despite serving more than 18% of the world population. Africa's biggest opportunity lies in bridging the gap between these two figures. We must champion policies that convert demographics into aviation growth, connectivity, tourism, and trade. In 2025, African traffic is projected to rise 15.3% year on year, reaching 113 million passengers. I'm talking about traffic carried by AFRAA members, African airlines. Cargo demand is also accelerating, but from a low base of 2% global share. The greater opportunity lies not in growth itself, but in African airlines owning that growth. Airlines need to expand commercially, government must liberalize markets, and investors must have confidence in the future of aviation in Africa. Distinguished delegate, African aviation is entering a decisive decade. We encounter challenges, yes, yet our continent also offers great opportunities. By working together, strengthening our collaboration, we can build an aviation industry worthy of Africa's aspirations. Thank you. Obrigado.
In 2025, the African aviation industry moved forward, strengthened by collaboration, innovation, and a shared commitment to elevating Africa's skies. This year, AFRAA continued its mission of promoting, serving, and championing Africa's aviation industry.
I've embarked on many projects. I want to talk about two projects. The first one is the free route airspace in Africa. AFRAA led that project with some of our stakeholders, and the project was financially supported by Africana. So it's an opportunity here for me to thank Africana. And the good news is that since 30th of October 2025, the free route airspace is effective in West and Central Africa region. The second one is the MRO event. You know, I talk about the potential growth of traffic on the continent. It means that we'll have more aeroplanes flying on the continent, and MRO activities also should be supported and developed. For that reason, AFRAA and 4 key African MROs, Egyptair, Ethiopian Airlines, Kenya Airways, and South African Airways are joining efforts to put together an African MRO from 2026. The first one will be hosted by Ethiopian Airlines in Addis Ababa from 29 to 31st March 2026 at the Skylight Hotel.
We proudly welcome new member airlines. Our network of partners expanded as well, bringing fresh expertise and collaboration. Throughout the year, AFRAA's committees and task forces remained active drivers of strategic solutions and policy guidance. We continue to shape industry knowledge with a suite of influential, data-driven publications and white papers. Events and workshops capacity building continue through workshops delivered with partners, empowering aviation professionals with vital skills in sustainability, cybersecurity, cargo and payment systems, and modern retailing. This year, we championed our industry interests at over 15 major international forums. AFRAA successfully delivered events that brought the industry together. The 13th Aviation Stakeholders Convention, 2nd African Aviation Safety and Operations Summit, hosted by Rwanda and Kigali. And now, we invite you to join us in Rwanda for the 57th Annual General Assembly, hosted by TAC Angola, under the theme Sustainable Skies Connecting Africa.
The first ever strategic plan at AFRAA from 2021 and 2020 to 2025. This was a plan involving all our staff members and involving also many stakeholders. So now we are coming to the end of that strategic plan, and we are launching now the second strategic plan of AFRAA. It's 5-year strategic plans, 2026 to 2030. I hope that 2026 will be another year of cooperation, because I really think that we need to work together. No one alone, no organization alone can achieve what we need to do for our aviation sector.
As we look toward the future, AFRAA prepares for another impactful year. In 2020,
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary General, for these detailed and insightful reports. Some announcements to make to the audience. So outside we have a registration desk where all delegates are invited to give or share information about the flight information back so we can arrange transportation. Also, at the same registration desk, the team will be delivering the invitations for the gala dinner today. Now, I wish to announce that the Assembly will convene in a closed session reserved for AFRAA members airline only. So, the remaining delegates and audience is kindly, and I highlight, kindly invited to leave the room and have some quality time to network and tour around the exhibition booths. Thus, lunch will be served outside at 1 p.m. And this lunch is sponsored by Africana Bank. Very important to note that we all should be back in the plenary room at 2:30 p.m. for the first roundtable, the CEO roundtable. Meanwhile, the Assembly will now convene in a closed session for AFRAA members airline only. Thank you. So AFRAA member airlines are required to stay in the room, and the remaining delegates to network, visit the exhibition booths, and in about 10 minutes start the lunch. Inicial, o banner. Estático. We kindly invite the non-AFRAA members to leave the room as we shall continue for the closed session. Non-AFRAA member airlines, kindly leave the room as we shall proceed to the closed session